Welcome to Chromecast. Check it out. I'm Sam Major, Commercial Director for Krome Technologies, and joined once again by Doug Elsley, Microsoft Practice Lead.
Hi.
So here to talk about Viva, Microsoft Viva, the employee experience platform.
Correct.
Got that right this time. Do you want to talk through the three things we want to talk about this time, Doug?
Yeah, so we're going to cover really the features and benefits around the tools, and quite a few of them in there. We're then going to go through a demo so we can see what those tools do. And then we'll wrap up with a summary at the end of it, just to go through some of the licensing and some of the implementation side of things. So
cool.
Hopefully that will be useful.
So let's jump right into it then with, I guess, what is Viva? Because I think I had a certain perception of it until, I sat down with you and went through some stuff. Super interesting, but for the benefit of our audience, I guess, let's go through what is Viva.
Yeah, sure. So I think most people get their first view of Viva really within Insights. They may see these messages coming through saying, you need to take some time off, or have this nice music experience and kind of relax a little bit. So it's a little bit of that. So it does sit in the HR side of things. So there's some information that can roll back. But also some of the other modules we'll talk about really roll into senior leadership teams and directors and to use those tools to push information down to the organisation. So getting out some surveys, some marketing information if you're landing in a product or whatever as well. And then also from the employee point of view, being able to look into these insights and also be able to do things like learning. So be able to pick on things like LinkedIn learning and some other things that we'll talk about. But there's a whole load of modules. We can go through them individually and talk through them. But really it's around OKRs, so the objectives and key results that you're trying to get from the business, KPI measurements, key performance indicators, so understanding where you want to drive the business from a corporate point of view, and then how do the employees get that messaging and how do they deliver and work on that as they get down into it. So it's a broad set of tools and a suite.
It certainly is. I think, but you touched on a few bits there, which would be good if we can dive into in a bit more detail.
Sure.
But things like, it's the dissemination of information, which was great. The OKRs, I thought that was really intelligent, especially obviously you've got to have the link in with Copilot, but I thought that's actually, you look at these things and go, actually that's really quite powerful and really useful, and that is around that kind of senior leadership bit, and that's where I think it takes a left turn. That's not just a HR tool.
Correct.
It's a very powerful business tool, so maybe we can, I think, dig into that, because that, I thought that was really good. Yeah,
so the part that you're talking about is really sort of Viva Goals. So if you think of, most of these modules are actually really well named. When you take the Viva suite, you look at things like Pulse, which is about getting the messaging out there, Goals, how you can drive the business, insights into what you're trying to do. Goals is, again, looking at OKRs and KPIs and setting plans and business objectives. How are you going to deliver these? What's the messaging that you're going to deliver down to the organisation? Who's the owners? Who's responsible for it? And then measure what you're doing against that to get the results out of it. So again, when you see the demo, you'll see examples of, yes, there are some sample ones in there that you can build very, very quickly. You can build your own. And when you talked about the Copilot one, being able to take your corporate report, upload it in, and if that corporate report says, we need to raise this revenue by 10% in this area, we need to do a cost reduction in this area, it will read that in the report and then build the objectives for you and the KPIs that sit underneath them, and then you just need to assign them out. It's quite simple as part of that.
It's very clever, very powerful, and I think it's a lot of customers are talking to now. It's all about accountability, right? And actually being able to own something, but having a system there which helps you plot that out, measure it, and have we improved, etc. I just thought that was, as a business owner, really powerful.
Yeah, it is. And there are lots of things that actually plug around that. So Goals is one part of it, and then you've got the Amplify part of the Viva suite, which is around getting, as I said, I'll cover it in the demo, you'll see it later on as part of that, but being able to get campaigns. So if you are landing Copilot, for instance, from inside your organisation, you need to do some messaging and you need to do some training, and people need to attend those training courses, and you need to report on those sort of things, and Amplify delivers all of those things in one single package as part of a messaging tool. And then on the flip side of it, on the HR side of things, as well as running with inside the business, things like Pulse, being able to get like surveys out, how you're feeling, how do you feel about the organisation, which is just on a manager basis, or being able to get feedback. So
I think that's sorry to jump in, but it's super important, right? Because everyone, culture is a big part of us,
Yeah,
what we do,
definitely.
and all our customers, clients, etc. It's super important. Everyone talks about, we all know businesses have toxic cultures, and we all know businesses have great cultures, but actually empowering HR to be able to litmus test that and how are we and how we're doing, etc. Again, really powerful.
And it should be, if you're having a one-to-one with your manager, the part of that should be, okay, go and gather some insights from 4 or 5 of the colleagues that you work with, some that you don't work with as often, and get some feedback on how you're working with them, and then use that in your one-to-one. Are you doing a good job? Do you need to improve in these areas? So it's around self-perspective as well, but also we cover some of the insights into how you attend meetings, how many meetings do you attend, do you multitask? They're all in the demo, I won't cover them now.
I know, but I thought that was a really interesting point. Do you multitask? And I need some more statistic on that, because I'm sure I do.
Yeah.
And actually, the whole point you're making in the demo, not to steal the thunder, but it's a really valid point of, should you even be in that meeting?
Yeah,
the task you're doing, is it more important? And you think about how much time we all spend in meetings these days, associating the cost to it, which you go through in the demo, you think, God, yep, we all sit in some very expensive meetings, right?
Yeah, you do. And
it's highlighting that data, isn't it? It's making, so we can now do something about it because we have a tool that actually aids us to measure it.
It's personal improvement. So you look at it, and as I said, most senior leaders or managers, and even employees that want to sort of look at themselves and say, am I doing the best job that I can do, can look at this information. And even simple things like, are you running back-to-back meetings? So if you've got a 10 to 11, 11 till 12, with Inside Viva, exactly, your prime example. With Inside Viva Insights and inside your calendar, you can say, finish my meeting 5 minutes early, or don't start my next meeting until 5 minutes past. That becomes the default as for the business. So everyone knows you get 5 minutes to debrief, write your notes, go and have a coffee, whatever, before you start the next one, breathe before you start the next one. So it seems very HR touchy-feely, but actually it's really about making the best experience for you to make sure you can get the best out of your work day, and you're not putting too much on yourself. So that's lots of things in there.
No, really, some of the things, the takeaways, it's really powerful. The other thing I thought, just looking at it, and I can see why people are starting to lean into the platform for this, is talking about pulses, notifications, that kind of, essentially can replace your intranet.
Correct. Yeah, and Connections is very much part of that. So that's one module we cover later in the video towards the end. But that is the roll up and information of all your SharePoint sites, all the communications. It can plug into, again, HR, inventory databases, and just generally provide an intranet portal where one person can go to get all the information they need to. And then on the flip side of that, you've got something like Engage, which is like the kind of the social media platform from the business. So if you think of Slack or Meta for Business or whatever, there's all of those elements where you can have communities and experts all talking to each other and take a lot of the workload away from the Teams application of having all those notifications, but certainly put it into a platform that's more enabled to work for the business rather than being a team tool or a localized team tool. But you'll see a lot of these things definitely within inside the demo.
Cool. I think we should probably jump into the demo now, and then we'll come back. We can talk a bit about licensing. And what we've seen in the demos.
Cool.
So as we start through this, I just want to cover really that this is a demo platform, and it's going to have some demo content, but it's not going to be as rich and live data as you would see with inside your organisation or a typical organisation. So there is some content in it, but it's not sort of live as in users are active on it right now. So firstly, to cover off, so this is Viva Engage. It's obviously a social media type platform, as we've already discussed, I hope. And it comes down into things like communities. So having areas where people of like-minded or groups of people, like new employees, for instance. You've got parents here, you could have a camera club, you could have all sorts of things, to be able to have communities of information where they can talk and discuss topics and have updates on topics around that. And you've got an all company one, safety, etc., etc. If we look at something simple like, as I said, like new employee onboarding, this could be for all the new people that join in a certain amount of time. They go into this, they've got their own little area, they can ask their own questions. You can have experts. You can see up here, you can see all the community experts that are assigned to this particular community, and they're able to help out and as they want to. So they can have it, open their own discussions, ask questions, fire out some praise. If someone's been really good to help them, they can then take that praise into their reviews. So it's a good way of picking up feedback from other people, raising polls, articles. But you can also do files and events. So if you want to have a little get together for these people, they can start planning events inside this little community. And as I said, you can have as many of these as you want to. You can allow people to create their own communities or not. That's all under control with the administration. Obviously, you can restrict this as much as you want to, but that's really what that's about, and it's having that feedback so to get them in. So those are the communities. You also have, as I said, the ability, if you're not having company meetings on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, you can also provide status updates. So this is the leaders, and you can see who the leaders are. As we saw before in some previous configurations, you can decide who are the people, who can they broadcast to, and who do they go to. So again, you can stop people broadcasting or define who the audience are for these people that can go out. But you can see very quickly, this is just a little update before probably a company meeting, what's happening with the new build of the campus remodel. This is obviously built on the Microsoft campus. As to see what things and plans are happening around that. A little bit of feedback, and they're just something where you can get corporate communication in here. And as we said before, you'll see these things light up with little notifications, so you can see where things are being posted. If you're in Teams, you'd see it highlight in the right area as well. You can also follow people's stories. Again, they could be experts in a certain field, and if they publish regularly on a basis, so if they're a development expert and they're doing some stuff around Copilot agents, and that's something you want to be interested in, you can follow them. Where if you're not necessarily part of their team or they're part of their team meetings and it's an area of interest, you can kind of follow these people. And again, the same sort of things available to let you know what's going on. So it's just like an update feed for that particular person to go and post videos. You have also, obviously, with all these things that are being posted, there's questions and answers from people that are experts. There are topics. You can see there's a pricing topic. You could have lots of different topics. But for instance, if this person was saying they're new to the company and they're saying, what is the pricing for something, it's instantly come back and then found out that there was existing pricing. So there's a best answer. So if that's your question, you can go to it. So rather than having to repost another one, you can quickly, when you're answering or asking a question, have it answered really, really quickly, or find the best practice answer. So again, a good data repository and source of data that you can go and pick up. From Megan's point of view, because she's quite a senior person, she can also delegate to other people for them to be able to post on her site for her. So again, you've got this ability to have other contributors into your channel, trusted communicators that can go and deliver that information, should you want to go and have that done as well. That's really around Engage. It's a quick walkthrough, but there's whole loads of information inside here. Certainly from an analytics point of view, you can kind of see what you've been doing. You can see what's happening from the community, if there are campaigns that have been sent out, or global answers, how much time was saved by people finding these answers rather than posting questions and looking around. So again, all of these things are useful and done on a corporate level, and just helping people do the work within inside the organisation, and also again within inside these communities being a little bit more focused. So that's really around Viva Engage. On to some other areas. We've talked about Engage. Now go and talk about Viva Goals. And Viva Goals is a wider view across KPIs across the business. So you can either have these broken down by department or top level business KPIs that you're looking to go and drive. And think of this as a big mix between things like planner and project and all sorts of things. But this pulls together at a corporate level to make it really, really usable for a lot of people to get decisions on driving the business in certain directions. So if there are initiatives that you want to get out, so for instance, if we go back and create a new objective, here we can go and see some sample ones. So you can see here what are the details, what's the outcome, how you're going to go and progress it, and how do you get the KPIs from these areas here. So if we look at some sample OKRs that we have here, increase annual recurring revenue from 12 million to 24 million. Okay, so that's this will build it for you. You can see it covers sales, it covers marketing, finance, designing products, web designs. So there are things that are here that you can actually just build as a template. So if we take, for instance, customer success, all 90% of customers live in 4 weeks, we just add this one in. That's going to go away, take that template, and then start to build all of the objectives underneath it, and then you can start assigning those objectives and then building your own templates to how you want to have those measured and what you're being measured on. So there's updates and summaries that you can get to all of the ones that have been assigned to this person. You can see all the initiatives that this person has got assigned to them, what they should be doing with them, and then they can obviously update their status on these and let them know if it's now on track, or if it's not on track, and update it. You can now see this, and that will refresh and go up to date on that. The dashboards around this, so you've got, again, all the things that you should be doing, so you can track yourself to what you should be doing as a user, and also as a top level corporate or departmental. You can see some ones inside here that are based around consumer electronics, which are going to be more public, and then ones that are that focus really around sales and marketing. So you can see here recurring revenues, for instance, for this one for sales and marketing. As I said, it's demo content, so we can't probably put too much information in here. But you can see the status updates and then be able to produce the reports based on this and review them as part of your change advisory boards, or as part of your senior leadership meetings. What's happening on this project? Where is it going to? What we're going to go and do about that. So Goals is a very, very powerful tool. I'm not going to do it justice inside this time period. But there are also ways to bring in things like Copilot. You could create an OKR from a document, for instance. If I go and grab a document, we go and select a document. This uses OneDrive. We'll go and search into that when it returns. Could be if I just go and take the annual financial report. This is what's been put out into a draft. So this will go through, read that report and find out we need to do this. So this is where, again, bringing in with Copilot, you can see it's read that report and it's generated it, saying we need to do R&D budget needs to be done. These need to go. There's some revenue happening in Japan. Is that being a market? And it's picked it all up from that document, and you can literally just create a KPI based on that and using those as the objectives, and then go and choose them, amend them, change the dates that you want to go and do by that. Go and create this, assign to me what's the time period you want to go and deliver this in, and that will drop into that bucket. So very, very quickly, take a document. If it's got issues inside that document that's been highlighted, it can then read that and then use Copilot to then build some information intelligence around, okay, how do you want to fix those things and how do you want to measure yourself on those things? So Goals is a very, very powerful tool. It is really for the SLT and leadership teams, but it can also be used at a project level. So if you've got a multi-layer project that you're looking at status updates, this gives you a much more graphical environment to how you can view those updates and have other people feeding in and see a visualization happening at the top. So that's Viva Goals. Also, on a similar vein, look at something called Viva Amplify. And Amplify is very much around getting messaging out with inside the organisation. If there are projects that you want to have running over a certain amount of time, say you're releasing a new product or you're introducing a new tool, you want to do step by step. Okay, we need to get this email out at this time, make sure that this is happening, these users are updated, these people are skilled. But it's more about making sure that the broadcast of the information is going out. Again, there's some sample ones in here, but if I just go and create a sample built-in campaign, this organisation wants to deploy Copilot. What stages do they need to go to about getting the communications about what's happening, what do you need to learn, how do you need to be aware of how you can use Copilot in the future. So here, ready to send, already pre-drafted, we can then set the campaign up. This will then go in the background. It's going to take a while, but that's going to go and build that campaign ready for the other users to have assignments to them about what they've got to do, how they've got to deliver emails, and building new templates for those emails and documents so you can really see what's pre-built, or you can actually build your own. Okay, that's just completed. It's just refreshing my screen. So now you can see here that the campaign is already done. So the Copilot deployment kit, the overview. So what's the brief of the campaign? What are the goals and objectives? These have already been filled in as part of that. Again, it's a template. And then you've got the publications that will happen. So in week 0, week 1, go through. So making sure that you have this launch cycle to make sure that the product or project or whatever it is you're landing will automatically go through communication. So if you assign these up, set them up, this will then release and deliver those campaigns in the background automatically for you, get the emails out, let people know, measure the response of those people who've read the emails, who's responded to them. So again, you can go back and look at the reporting elements behind it. Won't be anything on this as yet, but you can see promotions, reactions. Then this is one that's already out there. So obviously there's been an update to what publications are going to be going out to the enrolment of the new benefits that come in. So you need to reporting around that. Hopefully this will have a little bit more information around it. But you can see the graphs that will be there. So who's been viewed it, who's reacted to it, who's happy with it, and what reports went out and what's being done. So the information is there from a reporting point of view. This is a demo tenant, but you can see kind of the information that will be available with inside Amplify. Okay, Viva Insights is a view across the well-being and productivity with inside your organisation. You can see here some interesting insights when we start looking at productivity, about how you do your meetings. In the settings, you can set out about what your hourly rate is. Are you attending meetings, or how much are these meetings costing if you're having X amount of people join those meetings? And are they productive? So do you think that having this company meeting that runs on a recurring basis, repeats weekly, 150 minutes long, 24 people, this is the cost for running that meeting? Do you need to think about that meeting? Do you want to shorten it, remove some people that need to be attending? So it just gives you some valuable insights just to the meetings that are generally in your calendar, and then the ones that you are invited to. If you can then, again, if you don't use them, categorization around the meetings. Are they training? Are they internal? Are they external, customer facing? Whatever it is, you can track how your hours are being spent to what is being categorized as an internal and external meeting. So are you spending enough time with your clients or enough time with your employees, whatever it is? And this to me actually is quite an interesting area. There is some data here, but you can see if you attend a meeting, this is the most important one that I see. I see a lot of people multitasking in meetings. So you're not being present. So if you're not present, then do you need to shorten that meeting or only join for certain parts of it that are relevant for you, rather than trying to multitask and maybe not pick up all the content with inside that? This is really interesting, especially if you're, again, C-level. They tend to really value their time and understand, okay, am I utilising my time the best that I can do? So making sure that I'm attending meetings. If I need to reduce those meetings because they're too long, then you can kind of get these meeting habits as part of that process as well. Teamwork really sort of goes out and looks at who you spend the time in. So your one-to-one meetings, what you're doing, are they scheduled, are they not scheduled? Looking at communication habits, we looked at this earlier, how many hours you've got to go and focus. These analytics are on an individual basis, but you can also then sort of have it on a manager basis. You can see how your team are doing, and then also on a C-level or a company owner to see how the rest of the business is doing as well. So you can cascade the information. You can take away usernames, so it's a little bit more anonymous in the way that you bring that information together. But you can then just look at the general productivity. Are people working out of hours? Do you need to stop that? And they're not working enough. There are too many meetings. How much are these meetings costing that too many people are going to that actually aren't productive? So that's really what Insights is there for. There's a module inside here called Pulse. Pulses are for managers to go back and so you can see that if I create a new pulse very, very quickly, you can see here it's about getting feedback. So you can choose templates. If I was saying, okay, how do you feel about hybrid working, for instance? So there are templates here that have got pre-built questions about what should I be focusing on right now? Do I get the support I need from my manager, with all the feedback questions? And there are a whole load of additional questions that you can add. Am I satisfied with the training that I'm getting in my job? So you can add that in, and that's then put into your survey at the bottom of it, or your pulse that will go out to go and do that. And when you fire these out, you can see, obviously if they go out, you then send them to a team of people, and then you've got the ones that are out there right now. You've got some reports that are coming out and being shared to other people, plus you've got also existing ones. So these ones that have already been sent out. So here I can see there are like project team success. This one's been partially completed. You can then go back here and then you've got all of the results of it. So for every question, you can then go back and get information around it. And then also plugged into Viva Learning, courses you should be following as part of that as well. So here you can see all the responses, not a whole lot, but you can see if it was done over time. And you can also set schedules around these, so you can resend this back out again, or you can send it on a regular basis. With that, and as it was talking about Viva Learning, this then pulls back into using these learning resources. And in Viva Learning, it's a whole portal of being able to grab and build your learning plans. You can also build things like academies. So if you've got a new employee academy coming on, then you can define a whole set of courses that they need to go through before they even sort of start work, or if they're joining a new job role, you can build an academy just for those areas. And if you search Viva Learning, so if we just search for Excel, for instance, it will go and find all the training courses that are available to you with inside LinkedIn. This is one that's actually linked at the minute for those courses, and then you can then just go and add them into your training plan. Once you've got your training plan, you can start building your own. So if I add, for instance, this course, if I want to go and learn Python, for instance, if I want to add it to my calendar or bookmark it, so I can say that it's in there, or add it to my calendar. If I go back to my learning, you can see that that's now dropped in. You also have the ability to add other learning providers. So by default, if you've got these modules, you may or may not get LinkedIn Learning, but you get some other Microsoft ones. And then there are other providers that you can add in. So learning management platforms that you can add into this if you want to have your own skill sets. Plus you can add other content providers in. And here again is a whole lot of management interfaces about making academies for new employees and what courses are inside there, and then what they should be doing. So this is Viva Learning. Again, it's a great tool for new employees, but also to make sure that people are continually updating their learning process and their learning profiles to make sure that they are keeping ahead of the new technologies, Copilot, whatever it is. Those courses can be published out to people and they can go and use them inside there. So that's really useful. A little bit on connections, but if you've got communication SharePoint sites, you can roll all of them up together. So rather than having information spread across multiple SharePoint sites, this connections actually allows you to roll the information back up together, and it enables you to see a whole load of information together. So putting HR data, it's putting community information that's probably coming from Engage, it's plugging into an inventory database in the background to see what's going on, again HR, other bits and pieces. So this is almost like a landing page for what's going on if things have been sent out. One place to go and look at rather than having to go and look through multiple places. So hopefully there's a very quick run through. As you can probably see, there are lots and lots of depth topics and ways to get into Viva and some of the modules inside there. But hopefully that's given you a good view of exactly how you can go and do some of these things. Hopefully that's given you enough information. I'll leave it there and we'll probably go back on and discuss the rest of this in a second. Thank you.
Very interesting, Doug.
Yep.
Really good. I think that the bit that I think we'll dig into now is connections, because that to me is, it pulls everything together. It is, we talked about potentially the replacement for intranet sites. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, as I said, it brings together all the SharePoint communication sites and other areas like the HR data, and just gives one portal for the users to look at. And I think that's quite important. And I think probably we need to talk about how do people get hold of some of these modules, what licensing is included in. So things like if you've got business standard or you've got business premium or E3, you get certain areas of these. So you'll get connections, you'll get engage, you'll get insights from a personal point of view. And then if you go towards E5, you get obviously a few more licenses within inside E5 as you normally do. So you'll get like the manager and the leader side of the insights. But then you'll start looking at the rest of the tools that you get with inside the Viva suite. But they're also available as individual add-ons. So if you want to just take certain modules with inside there as well, you can add those individually.
So Microsoft making it easy for us again. But I suppose the important bit there is you don't need to have the suite. There might be specific things you want out of this, so you can just drill into that.
Correct, yeah.
And if you've got E5 licenses, as a bunch of people will already have, you've probably got licensing that you're not aware of that you can apply to this. I know we've had conversations, we do the reviews with customers where you go into what's actually, we broadly know what's available in E5, but there's a lot to it. And once you unearth with a customer, they've got a lot, if not all of this, available to them, then actually we're going back to maximising their current Microsoft spend.
Correct.
You know,
and I think no things to the people that we speak to, but we tend to talk to the IT departments.
Yeah.
And this sits outside of the IT. They can't generally see the benefits of what they need to go and do. So it's more of a business conversation, the C-level conversation, the HR conversation. So people need to be aware of these tools are available to them, and then they can be facilitated by IT to enable those tools to go out. So yeah, there's a bit of work to do.
there is a bit, and I think you educating the business is absolutely correct, but the bit we need to focus on now, I guess, is the getting them out there in the right way, the implementation.
Yeah.
All important, as always, is make sure you have a thorough understanding of what it is you're looking to achieve from the outset, and set yourself up for success. As we kind of always say, the measure twice, cut once, and all that, and use an implementation partner that has experience in doing this.
And I think also from a data repository point of view, there's a lot of GDPR information inside here. You need to think about all of those compliance tools that you are making sure that people aren't abusing these platforms as well. So there's a lot of work and configuration that can be done in the background to make sure you do that. But yeah, certainly step back and think about how you implement them, because abuse can happen at any stage, and if you suddenly allow people to create as many sites and connections that they want to go and do, then it may run a little bit wide. Much like SharePoint, when it first came out, everyone had a SharePoint site, and then once you got control of it, it worked really well. So yeah, definitely think about that.
So if interested, call us, speak to Doug, do it properly.
Yeah, cool. Definitely. We can cover each of those modules. It's a really quick demo, right? There's demo content, not a lot in there, and we can spend time really going into each of those modules to hopefully give you a little more information about them. So yeah, happy to do that.
Excellent. Thanks, Doug. No. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Chromecast. Check it out. Remember, like, subscribe and share, and if there's anything you'd like to see Doug come back on and talk about, put it in the comments section below. Thanks. Check it out.